Ches. Chav Ches. Chav Ches, is that
No,
true?
Zayin, no?
Chav Zayin. Chav Zayin.
We're ending on Chav.
Chav Zayin, no, we were at the Mishnah, Chav Zayin Amid Aleph.
Chav Zayin. So here we're up to the fourth of the I forgot to do it, but was there. Okay. So we had four. The parak starts off Abba Nidre Domitir Chachamim. This up to the fourth one. Now we had already Nidre's Ruzin, Nidre Havan, Nidre Shkogos. Now this is Nidre Onsen. Nidre Onsen. Onus means that it was not his fault. He was forced. It was a mistake. It was coerced. So we did have mention of this Mishnah in the Gemara. Here it is. That he made, so his friend made him a neder that if you don't come, I want you to come eat by me, and if you don't, so then I'll be yasser to you, whatever, you'll be yasser to me, whatever the case was that I yasser. So that's a neder. And the reason why he didn't come to eat by him was because he got sick, or his son got sick, he wasn't able to come, or there was a river that was blocking, he wasn't able to cross the river, whatever, there was no ferry available. So it doesn't take effect. It means he said, if you don't come, you're going to be awesome. And he didn't come. But the reason why he didn't come is because it's an onus. He really wanted to come. But the reason he didn't come is because it's an onus. He got sick. He wasn't able to come. So is the neder take effect or not? He didn't come. So the neder should take effect. But since it's an onus, so it does not take effect. The Gemara spoke about this Mishnah because the example of a Hadir Chaver Eslo, Hadir Chaver Shechol Eslo, sounds like a Zeruzin. And that's what the Gemara spoke about, that it shouldn't be, maybe it wouldn't be another even without the onus, because the same way it's just negotiation, and and the Gemara said that Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov was the one who says even by neighbors there's no Nidre's Ruzin. Nidre's Ruzin is down over there also. The Gemara does come out over there that the Rabbanan argue. So if the Rabbanan argue, so then the Mishnah could be the Rabbanan. This Mishnah is an example according to Rabbanan. Or the Gemara says that it can be according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, and this will be a case where
the one who was supposed to come eat.
And right, the guest initiated it, so it's not that the host is pressuring him, because on the contrary, the guest was interested in coming. So you can have a case where it's not a Zeruzin either. That's the side point about Zeruzin. And as far as our Mishnah says, that if the reason how the condition got fulfilled was bonus, the reason why he didn't come is because he couldn't come. So that's the Nidri and it doesn't take effect. And there's not going to be too much talk about our Mishnah. The whole Gemara is not going to talk about our Mishnah too much. It is going to bring it, but only to show if it applies to another case. In our case, for sure, since in his mind, the Pashtus is that even though he didn't say so, he didn't say that if you don't come out of your own free will. He didn't speak out if you don't come willingly. But it's understood he only meant if you don't come willingly. And if it's an onus, he didn't mean that. And that's what they called the whole time in Pivalibo Shavin, that neder only takes effect according to if his mind is the same as his mouth. And even though in his mouth he said, if you don't come, but it meant if you don't come willingly. So that's the Pashas in our Mishnah. There's not too much talk. The Gemara is not going to talk about our Mishnah. But the Gemara does talk about other cases, applications of an onus. It's the same way you see in our Mishnah that an onus is not considered that he didn't do it. He didn't do it. He didn't come. But he didn't do it because an onus. So is that going to apply to other cases also? So right away, the Gemara starts with another case. There's a man who atfus means he gave over to hold his zechuyot in Bezdin. So whatever the background of the case is, he had certain zechuyot, he had certain documents that would give him certain rights to collect from other people, and he said Bezdin should take it, and he said the following: that if I don't come within 30 days, so then I'm nullifying all of my zechuyot, all these documents that have given me rights. I'm nullifying the documents if I don't come within 30 days. What's the background of all this? So it's not clear. The Ran says the case might be where Bezdin was, this person has certain obligations and he wanted to leave and say he's going to come back.
What's the Indian of knowing back? That's what he did.
It's a funny case. One the person doesn't do such a thing.
Well, that's
It's true. You could just go like that, and fine, we can go further. Just that the story itself is almost like a story that surely has to have a background, because there's no sense in a person giving his to the Bezdin and saying that if I don't come within 30 days, it should be bottled.
I mean, why would Bezin Mechayiv him to such a thing?
It doesn't say that the Mechayiv to do it.
So
doesn't-
if Bezin was Mechayiv, I don't see why you have to.
a person is not.
What is to go into?
Just to point out that it's a foolish case. That a person comes and says,
That's what. What's the
No, it's okay.
Mishnah?
because we don't talk about foolish cases. A person comes and says that I owe me
Well,
money.
the nice it happened, so they had a paskin, no?
Fine.
No, I'm trying to understand why.
If someone's going to say that I have a document, they owe me $100, but if I don't come within 30 days, it's bottled. Like someone's foolish to do such a thing. So fine, if you want to learn like that, it's fine. But it's just there's Rishonim about it that has to have a background because the person doesn't do stupid things. A person says, it goes to Bezdin, and he says next to Bezdin, and says that if I don't come within 30 days, here's my documents and tear them up. Like Makara. So they say background cases where might have been reasons why Bezdin wanted him to do that. But the case was Isnis below Asa. He didn't come. He said, if I don't come within 30 days, so everything's nullified. And he didn't come. But the reason that he didn't come is because it was an onus. So that's the question over there. Do you say that he didn't come? So Bezdin tears up his documents. Or the reason why he didn't come is because of an onus. So here's the machlokes. We don't care that was an onus. The Maaseh didn't come. We tear up his documents. And he can't collect whatever rights he had. All those chuyas are bottled. Amalei Rava or Rava. Rava is considering the fact that it was an onus. When he said, I'm not going to come, he meant I'm not going to come willingly, but if I wasn't able to come because of an onus, so then that's not what he meant. And you see that an onus of one patre, that means that this is talking about when someone did an avera, and he did the very bonus. So the pasuk says that the person who did a bonus is not chayiv for any punishment. But that's talking about that if there was an marasa that was raped, so it wasn't her fault. So even though the man is going to be punished, he's killed, but the woman, the girl, nothing's done to her because she's an onus. So you see that an onus is not considered that you did it. Didn't do the act. So too, the fact that he did not come, since it's called an onus, does not consider that he did not come. You might say that over there the chiyuv misa is different. Ketala means the chiyuv misa that there's a death penalty over there, but you don't keep a death penalty if the person's an onus, which would mean any kind of punishment that you don't punish somebody if they were an onus. But over here, it's not a question of a punishment; it's a question of did he come or didn't he come? Was the condition fulfilled or not? So if you'll say there's a difference, here comes our Mishnah. That's the reason why the sugi comes in, because of our Mishnah. It's not a case of a punishment, just a question of a condition being fulfilled. But none. I'll show you that our Mishnah holds that an onus is not considered that you didn't fulfill that you fulfilled the condition. That's our Mishnah. What does the more want? In our Mishnah there was a condition. And the condition was fulfilled. It means he said, if you don't come to eat, you don't come to eat by me. You don't come to eat by me, then something's going to happen. And he didn't come to eat. But you say, since it's an onus, so it's not considered that the condition was fulfilled. So if so then by the case of this case of Bezdin also, that he said, if I don't come, my document should be nullified. He didn't come. Oh no, I'm sorry, and he didn't come. But since the reason why he didn't come was an onus, so you don't consider it that the condition was fulfilled. That's Rava. So Rava brings it right from our Mishnah that the onus is not considered that the condition was fulfilled. Since it was only fulfilled, the onus. The Gemara doesn't continue what Rav Huna is going to answer to this question. The Gemara goes further other problems. The Gemara is going to continue. But the Gemara doesn't say, and what does Rav Huna do with our Mishnah? Doesn't talk. But there is a rush over here that explains what Rav Huna is going to say to our Mishnah. So just go down to the bottom of the page. Rav Huna, one line up from the bottom. Rav Huna Savar Vada Beneder Binan the people leave a Shabbat, Vay Bedata Lido Imi Akbenu, whatever. I'm sorry. Honest. Abel Bamon law is there Basam Machshavas Libo. So the Ran says, I'm sorry, the Rosh says that Rav Huna is going to say the difference between our Mishnah and the case we're talking about, even though it's very interesting. The Gemara doesn't talk. The Gemara doesn't say. The Gemara says Rav Huna, Machlokes Rav Huna, and Rava, and the proof of Rabbah is from our Mishnah, and the Gemara doesn't continue. What does Rav Huna do with that? But the Rosh says what Rav Huna would hold. There's a difference between a neder and mammon. The mammon, even though in our Mishnah by neder you see that you do go according to his thoughts, you have to have pivel libo shabbat. That is only what he says with his mouth is only considered according to what he thought. And since we know that he didn't mean it, so we don't care what he said. But by money, maybe you don't go according to his thoughts, since he didn't say he didn't speak out that there's a difference if it's an onus or not. He just said, if I don't come. If you don't come, so you didn't come. So that's the machlokes between Rabba and Rav Huna. The Mazakasha and Rabba. Somebody gave a get to his wife, that should take effect right away, on the condition that he doesn't come in 12 months. If he doesn't come back for 12 months, the get should be a get. Usually the reason why a person gives this get is because he doesn't know what's going to happen to him. He's going on a trip, might not come, he doesn't come back, missing in action, he doesn't want she should be in Aguna, or he doesn't want that she should fall to Yibum, whatever the case is. That's usually the reason why a person gives such a get. And he died within 12 months. So he didn't come at the end of 12 months. So what should be?
There's a get count before.
So it should be a get. He says, I raise a gitach me'ashav, im lo basi mikan edi bes chodesh. He died. So I raise a get. Why is it a get? Because he didn't come. Why didn't he come? Because he died, but he's an onus. And if you go back and say that an onus is not considered that you've fulfilled an onus, is not considered that you fulfilled it tonight, so he didn't fulfill it tonight, the onus. So she should not be a get. The most asking Kasha and Rabba holds that if the condition was fulfilled by onus, it's not considered that it was fulfilled. Here, it was fulfilled by onus because the reason why he couldn't come is because he died. He was an onus, and according to you, Rabba, if he was an onus, so it's not considered the condition was fulfilled. The answer is, I think the answer is Pasha. The Gemara says it. That's how the Rishonim explain. Amri Dilma Shani Yasam. The miss. If he would have known, the wizard of Gemara literally are. If he would have known that he's going to die, then he would have given the get right away. I don't know
why you would do that, because then she can marry a Kohen.
If he would know that he's going to die.
If he knows he's going to die, so why would he rush and give her a get? It's hurting her. It's not a good thing.
She should make Yibum.
It's more of a reason to claim how much percent of the claim. Very little. The Yibum is
Okay, maybe
the Rosh explains that. I mean, I would say that the answer is simple, and the Rosh says that's what the Gemara means. I don't see it in the words too well. The Rosh says that why did he give a get? What's this fancy get about? We said a second ago, the reason why a person gives such a get. Well, why does a person give a get if I don't come? Because he's scared, he's not going to come back because he'll be missing in action or something like that, or he'll die, and she won't be in Aguna. So if he dies, on the contrary, it's Pasha that the reason why he's giving the get is because he might die. It's not when a person gives a get, he's giving a get on the condition I don't come back. What does he mean to say? That if I don't come back, I might have died.
Right.
Or right, that's the reason why he's giving the get.
Right, but if
So-
he's right in front of her and he's not going anywhere and
Right,
she's
right.
going to watch him die.
Right, so that's not the case. The case is that he's going away.
Oh, he's going away.
Well,
And
why is
he
the
knows
person-
he's going to die?
No, he's Choshesh is going to die. Why does the person give such a get?
Right.
Because he's going to war, he's
Right,
going
right,
overseas,
right.
so he's scared, he's not going to come back, and his wife's waiting for a year.
Right.
So 6 months, 7 months. If I don't come back within a year, so then it's a get from now.
Right.
Because he's scared, he's not going to, he died, and no one's going to find out about it.
Right.
So that's what the Gemara is answering. I don't see it in the words. If he would have known that he's going to die, I would have given it right away. I don't see that in the words, but the Rosh says, let's see the Rosh over here. The Rosh says, the Rosh says this is the pshat. I don't see it in the words. The reason why he's giving the get is that he shouldn't be an aguna, but that she shouldn't need dibum. So it means that that's what he's giving it for. He's giving it for the possibility that he might die. Our whole deal is that when he said it, he didn't mean that he didn't think of the onus. He said, I'm not going to come deep by you, or what's the case, I'm not going to come back, so then my document should be voted. And he thought he is going to come back. And then at the end, he wasn't able to come because of an onus. So you could talk about it, he didn't say so. The words he said, I'm not going to come back, he didn't come back. So we thought, but you would have meant, I would only if it wasn't an onus. But over here, even if it is an onus, that's what he meant. He meant that if it's an onus also that I'll come back, if I die, I want it to be a get. So that's what the Gemara's answer is. I don't see it in the words. If he would have known that he died, he would have given the get right away. I don't see that in the words, but the Rosh says that that's the answer. I understand the Rosh. I don't understand the words of the Gemara.
So then according to this, then the get is skull.
Yes, and that was the it says opening they get a scholar. The kasha only was, so that should be a proof to here also that if the condition
Right.
is fulfilled by onus, it should be considered fulfilled.
Right.
No, over there, that's what he means. Over here, it's not what he means. So the Gemara still has machlokes Rabba and Rafuna. The Gemara has another question. Also, paske mavra. There was a case, someone gave a get. If I don't come within 30 days, it should be a get. And he came, but he was on the other side of the river, and there was no ferry to come across, and he's screaming on the other side. We see him, we hear him, and he says, I came. Amar Shmuel, lo shmei masif. That's not called coming. You didn't come here on this side of the river. And what does it mean? That it's a get. This is how much the case we're talking about. That it's onus. And here it seems everybody agrees to Shmuel that here you say that an onus, amai v'hamein is onus. Rav Huna is good. This fits with Rav Huna. Rav Huna said that if you didn't come, you didn't come. I don't care why you didn't come. You didn't come. He said that you made a condition and you did, and the condition got fulfilled. The condition was if you don't come, you didn't come. Rab is the one who said, depends why it didn't come. If he didn't come because of an onus, it's not considered the condition was fulfilled. But here it says that even though it was an onus that the condition was not fulfilled, it's considered fulfilled. That's what Shmuel said. So it's a kasha. So right, the kasha from Shmuel against Rabba. The answer is Dilma onse the megalia shani umavra migli onse. The one says the difference of how much is it expected or how much is not expected. It means that this is a normal thing that you can't catch a ferry and they come the last minute and there's not always a ferry coming across. So that's normal that he should have expected that it could be that he's not going to be able to make it across. He should have spoken it out. If he meant to say that if I can't make it across, so then that's also called that I came, even on the other side of the river, he should have said so. So it all depends how big the onus is. If it's onus which is unexpected, so then he says, I didn't speak it out because I didn't expect it to happen. Well, then the onus happened, a lion came, there was the war broke out, whatever it might be.
Will that help?
So that's what they want to talk about. Mahog's Rabbi Navuna is that Lamaise didn't come, but it was an onus. The Rabbi says it was an onus, so that wasn't what he meant. When he said it, on the condition that I don't come, he meant if everything's calm and irregular. But if something happened, a war broke out or something like that, so then I didn't mean that. So even though I didn't come, the condition was not fulfilled. But in this case, that it's normal, that's a regular case that you can't get a ferry every time you want to. Yeah. So then he should have expected it. And if he meant to say, if such an onus happens, then I don't mean that, he should have said so. So the Gemara is saying that everybody agrees in this particular case of Shmuel, it's not a kasha and Rabbah. Rabbah's talking about when an onus that was unexpected happened. So Rabbah says that that's where the condition was not fulfilled. And Rav Huna still says, no, the condition was not fulfilled. You don't care if it's an onus or not. That's the end of that Gemara, more or less. But the Gemara is a side point, means there's still machlokes between Rav Huna and Rabbah. We brought it right from our Mishnah. Rav Huna Rabbah brought it right from our Mishnah, and the Gemara doesn't explain what Rav Huna does. The Rosh explains the difference between a neder and mammon. The Gemara has 2 points against Rava. What? I'm sorry. 2 points against Rabbah, and that was that you see the Mishnah about this case about Reza Kitach. If I don't come and he died, that's an onus. And there Rabbah says because that's what he meant. He meant to say if I die. And the other case was Shmuel's case, and over there it says that it's such a usual onus that he should have spoken it out. But we're talking about an onus which is not so usual, and that's what Rabbah says that he didn't expect that, and therefore there's no kasha why he didn't speak it out in his condition. And even though he said if I don't come, this is not called not coming. There was a side problem, seemingly a side problem on Rav Huna. Rav Huna says that he didn't come. But there's a kasha, there's a concept called asmachta. The case was the case of the shtorah. Someone gave the shtorah to Bez and said, if I don't come back, then nullify all of my documents. And he didn't come. And Rav Huna said, so we tear up the shtorahs because he didn't come. Even though it was an onus, he didn't come. So we listened to what he said, that he nullified his documents. He has no skuyot. The kasha is asmachta. Asmachta means that I'm relying on something, like to be somech, to lean on something. When somebody does something because he's relying, he's intending something's going to under a certain circumstance, and it didn't happen the way he thought, so it's not a good kinyan. It's not considered his. It's not considered obligating. So the Gemara is asking here when he said, if I don't come within 30 days, tear up my skuyot, he obviously meant to come. He wasn't just saying a regular tanah. He was saying, I'm surely going to come, and if I don't come within 30 days, you could tear up my skuyot, but he surely meant to come. So that's called an asmachta. The fact that he didn't come at the end, he was relying that he was going to come. And asmachta lokanya. They talk about the regular cases, talk about asmachta lokanya by gambling. That depends how you gamble. But if someone makes a bet and he thinks a bet in a way, maybe the word gambling is not a good word. They made a bet, and they made a bet because he thought he was going to be able to win the bet, and then he lost the bet, the wager. So there's a sugi called asmachta lokanya. You only made the bet because you thought you're going to win. And on the side you're going to lose, you never meant to obligate yourself. So it could be that the winner is not allowed to take the money, not allowed to take the money from the loser. That's why Masach Bekuvia might be a ganavin. There might be a ganav because of smachta lokanya. That's an example of a smachta that you only did something, made a certain agreement because you relied it's going to be one way, but you didn't realize that it's possible you're going to lose, or that you think you're going to. And here you thought he's going to come, and he didn't come. So smachta lokanya. The more answers, shana yachad the mitfasan zachvasan. Here it's different because he gave over his rights to the bezdin. So what's the answer? Just because he gave over his rights to the bezdin, why is it still not asmachta lokanya? The Gemara meant to say that's not considered an asmachta since he gave over his documents to the bezdin. But the Gemara says that's still considered an asmachta. But tanan misha par mitzvos chobo, the Ishla says shtoro, v'omar menani nosim lo mikana shloshim yom ten lo shtoro. Somebody paid a part of his debt, so he had a document against him for $1,000, and he paid back $500, but he still owes another $500. So what are they going to do with the star? He has a star that says 1,000. And he doesn't owe 1,000 anymore. He only owes 500. You can't tear up the star because it still owes 500. So they gave it to a third party and said, hold on to it. Hold on to it until I pay. But they also made it said that if I don't pay within 30 days, then give him back the star and I'm going to pay the whole 1,000. He paid really 500, and he's supposed to have paid already the second 500. So he said, if I don't pay within 30 days, then give him back the star to the malva, and I'm have to pay the whole $1,000. That's the case.
Why is he doing it?
Why he's doing it? Because the guy
He needs to find. He doesn't want to hold on to the stuff.
and you owe me money already, and you didn't pay back. So he's trying to he's trying to give some kind of an excuse and get terrorists, and I'll pay you back, I'll reimburse you, that you'll be able to collect the whole 1,000 again. I don't know if that's called ribbers or not. Leave out the ribbers problem over here. But that was the case. Somebody paid part of his debt, and he gave the star to a third party, and he told him, if I don't pay the rest of it until 30 days, give him back the star.
I would say because the third party doesn't want to hold on to the stars. He says, don't worry, you can give it back to him. You have to.
Give it back to him.
Yeah, give it back to him. You don't want to hold on to it. 30 days, hold on to it. You don't want to hold on to it more. So give it back to him.
Okay. Well, is he going to be able to collect the whole thing or not? If he's a truthful guy, means if it's not, then he shouldn't collect the extra 500. That's maybe the difference in the pshat over here. Okay, but here the case was he gives man below nothing, and the case is the whole that he thought that he's going to be able to come. He didn't think he's not going to come. He thought he's going to come. He thought not coming, paid. He thought that he's going to be able to pay. He didn't pay. He gives man below nothing. Sabiosi says, so tell the third party, give back the shtar to the mother. That's what he said. Rabbi says, no, he shouldn't give it back. Why not? Because asmachta kanya, asmachta lo kanya. Rabbi Yossi holds that it's an asmachta. But and Rabbi says asmachta lo kanya, Rabbi says asmachta kanya. So what's asmachta? That's the only reason why he said this condition was because he thought that he's going to be able to fulfill it. But he didn't fulfill it. So it doesn't have to do with the owner's case before. The Gemara before spoke about the owner's. Now we're talking about asmachta. That even if Rabbi Yehuda says that onus, we don't care, onus, the Lamaisi didn't come, but there's an issue we call an asmachta. And since we pass like Rabbi Yossi, asmachta lo kanya, I'm sorry, ain't the loch of Rabbi Yossi, the asmachta kanya, we pass like Rabbi Yehuda, the asmachta lo kanya. So we should not give back the shtar. The case of where we told Bezdin, if I don't come within 30 days, tear up my shtar, nullify all my documents. So he only did that because he thought he was going to come back. Since he didn't come back, so we should say it's an asmachta, lo kanya. Doesn't should not listen to him. How come Rav Huna says what?
And he has the star.
Who has the star?
Nothing.
Bezin has the star, and they should give back to him. They should the documents should still be valid documents. How come we nullify? Bezin says they stamp on it nullified. Why should it be nullified? He only said that it should be nullified because he thought he was able to come back. He didn't come back, so we shouldn't authorize that kinyan. The more answers, not very hard words in this, the more very short and very shani yochadama lebatan zachvasa. Here it's different because he said that my zchuyo should be batal. So that's the question. What's the answer? That's the answer to the Gemara. Here it's different because he said my zchuyo should be batal. It sounds like a mystery. What's the answer? The question was asmachta lo kanya. So what's the difference that he said my zchuyo should be batal?
He knew that it's a gamble, and
but that's an asmachta. That's the question. That asmachta means that he knew it. Doesn't mean he said it because he thought he's going to be able to come. So
yes, but he wants to let them know that if for any reason he doesn't fulfill it completely, he is bottle on.
But that was the question. The only reason why he said it is because he thought he was going to come. So it's not smart. It's a
But he gave the
going.
shot, but he was holding on to the shot. He gave him the shot.
He gave the shot to Besdin, and therefore.
So that's more of a, there's a kinyan on the.
But the Gemara said that. Well, the Gemara tried that. The Gemara said, "Shani Yochad the mitzvah sins achvos." He gave it over to them. But the Gemara says he said a case, even if he gave it over to them, but this case he gave over the shot to the shalish. Still, everybody says lo yitin. So you say giving over the shot is not doesn't break everything. It's still called asmachta. So what's the Gemara's secret over here? That here he said lebatlan zachvos. That it's more.
Yeah,
That it's and before he said give it back. What's the difference if he says give it back to the malva or he says tear it up? Tear up my suyos or give back to my chov. It means that the one that the malva has is against him, and he says give back to the malva even though I paid half. Now he's gonna be able to collect the whole thing. Why is it different than having a skos and tearing it up, or having a chov and giving it back to the malva to be able to collect again? What's the secret of these words that he said? So there are two pshatim over here in the Rishonim. The Ram brings down the Rambam on the top line over here. It starts in the Amud Aleph that go to the bottom of the previous page. Loma shehu mochel kol kol cheschush yesh lo bos nishtoros techivon the mechila he less bas machta the miyad zocha bochaveiro. It seems that he was mochel on that also. There's a truth. There's a thing called asmachta lokanya. But by saying levatlan zchuyo zechusei, he's saying I'm about to discuss asmachta lokanya also.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. It's a strong. He's bottling himself to any din.
So I think you have to say. I think you have to say this point of asmachta lokanya also. There's a din. There's only din. One din asmachta lokanya. By saying that he's mochel, he's saying asmachta lokanya on that. I'm mochel the schus of asmachta lokanya also. Not a question of how much he meant it. He was mochel the schus of asmachta lokanya. Maybe that's the Rambam they say. But then they say that Chenas a Rambam, Rashi argues, and it seems that all the other Rishonim here that I saw on the page, not so many, but there's 30%, there's the Ran and the Rush, all of them say that has something to do, as if he's saying a moda that it's a sheker. He has documents that say that people owe him money, whatever documents he gave to Bezdin, and he said if I don't come within 30 days, tear it up. And they all say in this case, when he says Levatan Zachvase, it's as if he's saying a moda that they're false documents, which I don't understand.
I'm not thinking out loud, but maybe Pshat is why when I pick up my chashva document?
So what does that have to do with coming in 30 days?
If I'm mafkir my chashva documents, it shows that obviously they're not real documents.
So I'm asking this guy that didn't come right now, at the beginning of the 30 days, he has false documents. And he's giving over to Bezdin, and he's saying, if I don't come within 30 days, tear it up. But if I do come within 30 days, it's not false documents.
No, it's saying I'm not. It's not false documents. But if I don't keep, it's not false documents.
No.
But if I don't keep my word and come within 30 days,
yes,
it shows that I'm a liar and it's false documents.
I'm asking you, are you? We'll take him to the side room. Let's talk. How you say? Degree. Are you lying or not? Like,
right now, he says I'm not lying.
No, I'm not talking about what he's talking. I want to know. I'm asking. Degree.
Partially, he doesn't look like a liar.
No, I'm asking him. I'm not talking about what it looks like. I'm asking him, Be'emet, is it a false document or not?
No,
it's not a false document. So what are you telling me that if you don't come, what are you telling me that if you don't come?
If I don't come within 30 days, you see I don't keep my word, then double check me, and it's probably false document.
You're not answering my question.
I don't. Why not?
I'm asking you right now, is it a false document?
Right now, no.
Not right now. It doesn't become a false document. Is it a false document?
No, I say not.
So I'm asking you the truth.
It's not a false document.
So now he didn't come in 30 days. What happened? It became a false document.
Didn't become. Then it's Megala Das. I'm a liar. Why not shop? I missed it. Okay, I have to go over the Gemara. I realized I didn't see the understand the Gemara.
Not the Gemara. Okay. Okay. The Gemara says now the Paskins the halachas now Vilchas Asmachta Kanya. Now we said a second ago. A second ago we said you don't pass the Gabesa. We just pass the Asmachta Kanya. And then the Gemara says Vilchas Asmachta Kanya. So you have to read on. I'm not sure why the Gemara organizes the 3 points in this order. So I don't know how to read the Gemara so well, but then if you change around the order, if there was a Kenyan in a Bezdin Choshev, the Gemara is bringing in a new concept called a Bezdin Choshev. There's a Bezdin and there's a Bezdin Choshev. Bezdin Choshev, they talk about what a Bezdin Choshev means. Doesn't mean it's the most Choshev of Bezdin in the city. Doesn't mean that they have smicha. Doesn't mean that they know the halachas of asmachta. I'm not sure. But it says a few possibilities about Bezdin Choshev. But even the asmachta lo kanya, but in the Bezdin Choshev, you made a Kenyan in the Bezdin Choshev and asmachta kanya. What's the longest over there? I don't know.
What's the word daknu?
What?
What is daknu?
The kanu.
Oh,
Daknu.
daknu. I'm sorry.
I'm not answering your question. I just maybe a lead. That the idea is that it's less serious if you don't make if you make a kinyan. You're doing better.
The Kenyan, we made it. The Kenyan is still not a Kenyan. The whole thing was a Kenyan.
No, then you say
The question
today
was-
would be like you're saying, even if usually I'm not masking if it doesn't.
If there's a possibility that.
But here I'm going all out of my way, so then I'm saying I'm asking no matter what. If I go out of it so far,
Even though it might be the best chashiv happens to be the best around the corner. It does not necessarily mean, but okay, there's a best chashiv. Asmachta is kind of a best chashiv, and the middle of chavud la'anis. I'm not sure why they were organized this way. Should have been hilchas asmachta the kanya if it was kind of a best chashiv. I would think that's what the Gemara should have said. I'm not sure why it's arranged in this order, but the middle of chavud la'anis goes back to the first machlokas between Rabbah and Ravuna. If a onus is considered a fulfillment of the condition, and we're passing like Rabbah that if there's an onus, so then it's not considered fulfilled. There are two sugis going on. The first one was about the onus as considered a fulfillment of the condition, and the other one was that even if you say that it is considered a fulfillment, but there's a smachta lo kanya. So the more paskins are smachta kanya if it's a bezn chashuv, and also as far as the onus goes, it has to be without an onus. If it would be an onus, so then that's not considered a fulfillment of the condition.
I'll just tell me if that. Please correct me if this application is wrong. I'm having a disagreement with the guy, and he says this doesn't exist. $100 if you find me it exists, and he finds me that this thing exists. So if that's the get asmachta, I won't have to give you because I'm only obligated my.
I would think so, because you thought for sure that you're right. You didn't think that you.
That happens sometimes between people.
There's a whole simon that has a lot of conditions about a smach that's simon Beis Zion, and I guess to look over there before, like the way it sounds, you wouldn't be obligated to give. I don't know if there's lachatchila b'diavad, but all kinds of conditions. But that sounds like the case of an asmachta. When you said something, you obligated yourself something because you thought a certain way. You were relying on a certain fact, and it comes out that it's not true.
And I remember a certain case. I wanted a ride with this. I asked the guy for a price. He told me a high price. I said, someone offered me this like half the price. He says, show me someone to offer you, and I'll give you even cheaper. So it could be if he really thought that it doesn't exist, so he wouldn't be obligated to do that.
There's also talk about that. It's you might be not to have to give, but maybe you're not allowed to take either. You're saying how much money I'm going to take. Maybe asmachta l'kanya is not enough to stop. You don't have to pay.
And then I had one more.
I saw a lot of details over there.
I had one more case. I told the taxi driver, if you talk on the phone during the ride, I'm not paying you. Before I got into the car, I said, on condition you don't talk on the phone. You talk on the phone on the way, I'm not paying you.
And he agreed to the condition.
He agreed to the condition.
Okay.
So if he talks,
He agreed to the condition. Why is it?
it's not. It's not a smack. I guess when he made the condition, he thought he's not going to talk. He didn't want to drive me for free. Right?
So he I don't get it. Nothing happened. He did it. He decided to talk. Okay, next mission. They say this mission. The next mission also has to do a little bit about onsen. As the Nedarim onsen. Nedarim onsen report said that if a condition is going to happen, and the condition was fulfilled, but it was bonus, like you said. If you don't come to eat by me, so you're going to be awesome. And he didn't come to eat. But the reason why he didn't come to eat is because he got sick or his son got sick. So that was the mission before that it doesn't take effect because it's an onus. This is a similar case, not exactly, but it's also going to be a category called an onus. Rashi says this, that this next mission is also under the continuation of the mission before about Nedarim onsen. There's a person who wants to take away money from him. And he comes, he's a murderer. He's a destroyer, whatever. This person is able to destroy.
I thought he takes for the melech, no?
That's the moches.
No, moches is b'tor taxes. Machrim, he has the power to be machrim.
The plunderers. He's a plunderer.
I don't know. Okay,
He steals. The first one is a research, the second one is a gunner, but the third one is a tax collector. And they want to take away money. They want to collect. They say, "Give me this," and but the guy would not eat not kosher. The guy he would kill, but he wouldn't eat not kosher. So he says, "This food is not good. This food is true." So he says, "I don't believe it." you're lying. So I don't believe that. So he says, I'll make it. He says, so the Ganav says that the Moches, the Ratzach, he says, make a neder that it's truma. Even though, so he says you're allowed to do that. She truma, afi shein truma, or shein shel beis hamelech, afi shein shel beis hamelech. He wants to get out of pain. Really, it's regular food, and the guy wants to steal it. So he says, I make a neder that it's truma, even though it's not really truma. Or he says, if I make a neder that it belongs to the king, even though it doesn't belong to him. This is royal property. Don't start up with the king. This is royal property. So don't take it. So even though he's lying, and he's making a neder, and he should be obligated, whatever the Gemara is going to take about how did he obligate himself. He made a neder, he asked something on himself, something very important, in order to convince the Ganav that he's saying the truth. So it says you're allowed to. That's another case of an idiot onsen, that he lies, and he says that this belongs to the king. This is true, even though it's not really not. That's the case of
I'm sorry,
neder.
who's making the netter?
The victim.
The victim to the one that's going to kill him, to the one that's going to extort him, to the one that's going to make
Someone has a hold up, and the Ganav says, "Give me this, give me this money." So he says, "This is royal money. It's the king's money." So he says, "I don't believe you. Make a neder that it belongs to the king."
and he
So,
makes a netter
You wanna make a
to.
neder.
I see. He
You
makes
wanna
it.
make a neder in order that the Ganav shall leave him alone, even though it's not true.
Okay, and we didn't get a law yet. That's just the case.
That's the halacha. Nodrin, you're allowed to. That's the law.
Okay,
Says that you're allowed to, even though it's a false. We have Nidre's Ruzin, Nidre Havain, Nidre Shkogos, Nidre Onsen. This is also kind of a Nidre Onsen, that he is allowed to make this neder, even though it's not true. B'shama Yomim, Bakol Nodrin, next page, Chutz Mibishvua. But we said Lomim Afishvua. So the words are a little bit difficult, but the Chorad means that B'shama says only a neder is permissible, but a shvua not. The shvua is more severe, more stringent. So Beishamai says we don't allow shvua. Means is he allowed to swear that it's not truma? Beishamai says not. Beishamai says even allowed to swear. You can swear that it's truma, that it belongs to the king, and it doesn't, because you're being forced into it. So else he's going to take it away. So that's also included in this onus, that you're allowed to swear even. Another machlokes. That this whole the issue that he's allowed to make a neder, Beishamai says only if the Ganav initiates. He's the one who says, make an, I don't believe you, make a neder. Then you can make a neder. But he's not, but the victim alone is not allowed to initiate, I'll make a neder. He says, I don't believe you. The Ganav says, I don't believe you. So I'll say, I'll make a neder. Beishamai says, no, don't offer any neder. If he says, make a neder, then you're allowed to, but don't offer it. He says, you can even initiate it also. The Ganav says, I don't believe you. So he says, I'll make a neder. And also, okay. And the next case, B'sham Yom B'meshu Madiro. B'sil Lomim Apameshen Madiro. B'sil Shammai says only what he wants. If he says, make a neder about a certain thing, and then I'll be convinced. So B'shamai says only make a neder what he asked for. B'sil says you're even allowed to go overboard. You're even allowed to say I'll make a neder even more than he asked for. He wants to really be convincing. So he says I'll make a neder more. You're also allowed to do that, and it doesn't take effect. That's the case. Kate's an example of this. Amalo, the Ganav said to the victim, and more, say the following. That I'm answering my wife to have an eye, that's a serious thing. So the guy knows he's not going to lie, but he really is going to lie. But he says, if this is not truma, or if this doesn't belong to the king, so I'm answering my wife on me. But so Beishamai says only say that. But he says even more. He made even a bigger neder than the Ganav asked for. The Ganav asked him to make a neder on his wife, and he makes a neder on his wife and on his children. So Beishamai says, that it's only an onus, only the part that the Ganav asked for, but he added on himself. That's a regular neder. So then his children are going to be also. But we said that even the children are also mutter because he's doing it because of the Ganav. Even though the Ganav didn't ask for that, so he wants to be more emphatic. He wants to be more convincing to the Ganav to show him that I'm not saying the truth, even though he's lying. But he wants to show, I'm even willing to make a neder even on my children more than he asked for. So that's also mutter. It's the Elu will turn before we had the Sugya because Neder Shabbat Musasa Batal Kula. It could be here also you'll have that. But here it's Mutter Betzem because the Neder is allowed to even make a Neder on more than he was asked for. That's the Mishnah. So we had one. The main Allah is to say there's also kind of an Idri Onsen over here also. What's the onus that the Ganev or the Moches is trying to get money out of him, he's allowed to get out of it by lying and saying that it's true or that it belongs to the king, and he's allowed to make a neder about it. Three machloksten. But he still says even allowed to make a shvur about it. But he still says even allowed to initiate the neder, even if the Ganev didn't ask you for it, and even allowed to overdo, like do more than you asked for, in order to convince the Ganev more. The Ganev has to make a small neder, he makes even a bigger neder. They still say he's allowed to do that also. On these 3 points, Beis Shammai argues. Beis Shammai says only a neder, not a shvur, and only if he initiated it, and only the thing that he asked for, not more than he asked for. The Gemara is going to go on the point of moches. The Mishnah has a few cases: harogin, haromin, and mochsin. The moches sounds like an official guy, like a legal guy. He's a tax collector. The other guy, the retzeach and the haromin, the plunderer. So that's illegal. But the moches, the tax collector, is authorized by the king, so he's an official guy. So do you not have to pay taxes? The other ones, they were saying, and the Ganav is someone gets mud, he's getting held up, so then he's allowed to get out of it by lying. But here he's supposed to pay the taxes. This is the famous quote everybody knows, that the law of the land is the law. So he has to pay the tax, not to get out of it. It's a mochus that's coming without any set amount. It means taxes have a set amount. But if he comes and takes without any cheshbon, whatever he wants to take, he takes. That's illegal. The king also doesn't allow that. Even though the mochus has right to collect taxes, each person according to his bracket, whatever it is, 17%, 20%, whatever it might be. But if he comes without any cheshbon, he takes whatever he wants. So that's illegal. And even in the land, the law of the land doesn't permit that either. And another teretz, that's not a mochus who's taking it in the name of the king. He's not legal. He's an illegal tax collector. It means that he came into town with a gun. What? Mafia? That's a good way to say it. He comes and he takes over. So that's not Dina the Makusa Dina. The Makusa Dina is only when there's a organized government, a king. But if someone comes and he just takes over, that's not called a government which obligates you to listen to the laws. This is the famous Gemara, that the law of the land does obligate you, and if it will be a regular king that does give a kitzvah, so then the Chor says you have to pay taxes.
We're talking about an anarchy where they go against there's no rule. There's no.
Which Gemara are you explaining?
Well,
the Mochas Amud Meila?
Yeah. I mean, no, the one that's he's not he's not even a real tax collector.
That's the last case here. Mochas Amud Meila. That he's not coming in the name of the government. He's just like mafia. That's a good example. So then
the whole country has no.
I don't know why I say the whole country. This mochas is
particular.
You don't have to say the whole country is a mafia. There's a mafia.
There are times where the whole nations become so corrupt that, like they talked about Venezuela, was that kind of took place. That everybody does as please.
You might talk over here in this tomorrow also. Mochas she'en lo kitzvah, that he comes without an amount. So is it different than the second paras? Means he's coming in the name of the king. He's coming in the name of the king, and he comes without.
That's what I thought. No.
So why doesn't the king have a right to do that also?
There could be the king that has a right, but the king gives him authority within.
And he's taking more than the right. What if the king would give him the right to do it?
If I rent someone else, I could charge it 20,000. If he doesn't want to rent it, doesn't rent it.
So then it's more or less the same case as then it's it isn't two terusim, then it's the same paras. If he's taking more than the king allows him, so then it might be similar to the second teretz. What's the difference between the two terusim?
I thought that the Maisi is coming become the king. Just the king doesn't.
So it's just another scenario, but not one who's illegal. He's coming on his own.
Could be legal. It could be officially he's legal,
that's the
but the king didn't mean that.
So that means that he's not. He's misusing his powers. That means that
doesn't have power. He has power, but
so that's the question. If the king would give him a right to do that, is that also including the Gemara that the king?
The svara isn't that the svara that?
So that would be the question. If there's
what's the svara for Keret?
He also has a limit. The king also.
Well, why can if I rent someone else, I could charge.
Yeah, I'm not coming to say.
I don't see it why the king has a limit. He can make any rules he wants. No.
That's the question. That's what Kandov's talking about. If the whole country went corrupt, maybe that's also not called a government. That the whole government officially is corrupt is not called a government. Okay, we'll just leave it as the point. This is the Gemara of Dina Machusa Dina, and the Gemara says two exceptions. One not an exception. How to explain our Mishnah? That is a mochas omer me'elav and there's a mochas she'en lo kitzvah, and there you don't have to pay the taxes. But just to see the Gemara that it does seem to say Dina Machusa Dina that you do have to pay the taxes. There's a machlokes rishonim over here if it's only b'yachas to a Jew, there's a the Shulchan Aruch says even if it's a Goyish king, and you have direct connection to the king. I mean, the king is only going. Also, the Mechus Adina. The Ran over here says that it's only if there's a Jew, the Jewish tax collector. He's authorized by the king. So Dina Mechus Adina authorizes the Jew. He has the right to collect taxes. But if it will be only goyim, so then it's a possibility maybe it's not Dina Mechus Adina. That seems to be a Mechus Rishonim, and it goes into the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. Is there Dina Mechus Adina just if there's goyim over there, or maybe if there's a Jew and only if there's a Jew involved.
Excuse me, Rabbi Citron, I have a general question. It seems like there's a little bit, as you mentioned, of onus here. And I'm just wondering if it's going to come up, Devar Sheker Tirchak. And here we're lying, but is it because of the fact that there's an onus that one's allowed to lie?
Yeah, for sure. If someone asks you, no one should ask you, but someone goes in the street, he says, "Do you, give me your money? Do you have any money? Do you have any money?" In okay, if you see your pocket, but you have to say the truth. You have to say, "Yes, I have money."
No.
You don't have to lie. You don't have to say the truth if someone is taking something illegally from you. And here it says a much bigger chiddush that you're even allowed to say a shvur.
To make the shvur, the neder. Okay.
You're going to send the Beisol says even a shvur.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Engel Kitzvah, it means that it is within the government realms. It's just
it says no. I said the words are that it's unlimited. He's taking it unlimited. So then the question is unlimited. So who's authorizing him to take unlimited? Doesn't mean that he's not authorized. Avram was saying that he's not authorized. The king doesn't authorize him to take unlimited, so he's doing more than the king allowed. And
so it's not. So what's the difference between that and Rabbi Yana?
Okay, that was the question. Maybe that's all the both two cases.
It's also he's taking his.
He's doing it on his own. So the two scenarios are the same thing. Or the other possibility, what you were hinting to, that maybe there's a government that's doing Enlo Kitzvah, and the government, even if the government says we can take as much taxes as we want, maybe they're also not under the concept called Din Dina. And then the question will be why. We're touching on the subject without going into getting the answers, just touching the subject. But this is where it says Din Dina. Shehein shel beis hamelech, vafi shehein shel beis hamelech. So the mission is very interesting that it says that he makes a neder that it's not truma. He makes a neder that it's not of the kings. And there's no such thing. We talked about a lot of times that nowadays people talk that way. I make a neder. I make a neder that what? There's no such thing as I make a neder. We said from the beginning of the Masechta, people have a wrong concept of a neder. Neder means I'm mastering something. You have to answer something. Right. So the words to say, I make a neder that it's not truma, that it's truma. What did you say? What do the words mean? Heichi neder. How do you make a neder? They say I make a neder that it's truma. This is we would understand that the whole Masechta is like it. That he says I'm answering something if this and this. So here he says that, for instance, he's going to say that I'm answering all food upon me if this doesn't belong to the king. So that's what we said in the was always. He makes a condition and he says that if the condition I'm saying is fulfilled, is not fulfilled. So here he says that I'm telling you that it belongs to the king. This is royal property. Don't touch it. Leave me alone. And if it's not royal property, so then all payros should be usher on him. Fine. The Ganav will be satisfied with such a neder because he knows he's not going to usher all food on him. He has to eat. Yes, he's not going to answer it. So, and it says, "Oh, Paris Owen." But the Gemara, the Gemara would have usually spoken longer. It would have been Gemara would have said that it should take effect. Now, if we learn the Mishnah plain, this is the case. It's a very simple case that he makes a neder. That's very convincing. That if this is not royal property, if this is not truma, I should be usher on all Paris forever. But the Gemara doesn't accept it. The Gemara thinks that is a serious neder and it will take effect. You're not allowed to lie in such a case. And that's the most kasha. It's a very strange kasha because we would have thought, yeah, that's what it says. That since it's a onus, because he's being forced into it by the Ghana, by the Raseach, by the Mochas over here, so he's allowed to make a neder, which is not going to be true. But the Gemara says, no, if this is the neder that he said, we wouldn't allow it. The Gemara is very ambiguous, as if we're supposed to understand without explaining to us. We'll see a couple of lines and we'll see what the Gemara does want. The Gemara asks, It can't be. The Gemara says if he made such a neder, all the pairs do become asa. And even because he said if it's not royal property, if it's not truma, everything should be asa. So it should be asa. So the Gemara doesn't make sense to us. What do you mean? That's what we're talking about. That he's being forced, he's being held up by gunpoint. So he says this neder, but it's not true, and he shouldn't be asa. But the Gemara says no, he should be asa. We don't understand the Gemara yet. The Gemara answers Va'omer hayom, that he doesn't make a neder that's be asa for always. It should be asa today, and that it is asa for today. It'll be asa for one day, and he's not going to eat pears today. If it's not truma,
so he's partially saying truth. In other words,
right, means he does keep the neder. He does keep the neder, and he makes the neder only for one day. And he says, if I'm promising to you that this is truma. If it's not truma, so then I should be asa in all the pears of the world for today. And then after the day, and he doesn't eat the pears today, and then tomorrow he eats the pears. But the Gemara says the Ganav's not going to be impressed with that. The mocha is not going to be impressed that he says, I'm not going to eat apples today. Okay, so he won't eat apples. It has to be, he's going to make a serious neder. So the answer is,
that's what I was thinking. I was saying to say that quietly to himself.
That's what the Gemara says. He does says he also pears olam alive, but in his heart he thinks only today. Now usually that doesn't work. The person thinks something in his mind, but he says something else. But the Gabi owns him shani. That's all the Mishnah meant to be matter bonus. But the Gemara, without telling us why, the Gemara says so much we're not going to be matir. We're only going to be matir that he should think something in his heart, and that much the onus will make that he doesn't have to do what he said. He has to do what according to what he thought. So since he thought in his heart that this is only for one day, he's allowed to keep the neder for one day. And today, Taki shouldn't eat the parasolam. Tomorrow he can eat the parasolam. It's very strange how the Gemara should have said, let's not be matir it so much. The Gemara just makes it as a kasha right away. That if he said straight, the neder takes effect, even though it's an onus. And that case has to be that he, in his heart, he says it's only Yosef for today, and his Taki is Yosef for today. And even though with his mouth, it's not, well, he didn't say that, it sounded like it's Yosef forever. And the Ganav was impressed with that. But he doesn't have to do what he said, he has to do what he thought. But the Mishnah is not going to be matir if he mamish made a neder for always, and he didn't have it in his heart only for today, then it's not going to be us, even though it was an onus. So we have the whole Mishnah. It brings now here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It brings the whole Mishnah down. What does the word bakol mean? Bakol. I forgot the word that was going on. That's bakol nodrin, but not a shvua. And then Beishamai says Mashem Madiro, Beisel Lomem Mafshenim Madiro, even the more. The three things that the Mishnah spoke about. That the Beishamai said that not a shvua and not to initiate it, and also not more than the Ganav asked for. Case that it's just going to Mishnah. It's a very big Dibra Maso. The whole Mishnah over again. So we don't need all that. Usually that's what say two words. Look at the Mishnah. We learned in the Brisa that seems to say different than the Mishnah. In the Mishnah, we had an issue if you're allowed to initiate the neder. That Beishamai says you can make a neder, but don't initiate it. Only if the Ganav initiated it, then you can do it. But still says you can even initiate it. Then there's machlokas about a shvua. Beishamai says no shvua. Beishamai says the first thing was earlier. Beishamai said no shvua. Beishamai said even a shvua. And this brisa seems to say a different. That Beishamai says you can't initiate a shvua. Beishamai says you can even initiate a shvua. And the Gemara has two questions. That this brisa, just highlight it, just to be able to see what's going on. That's the brisa. And the Gemara says that this brisa is different in the Mishnah in two ways. Because first of all, it's mashma that Beishamai says he just cannot initiate a shvua, but you could make a shvua. If the Ganav initiated the shvua, say make a shvua, then you're allowed to. And our Mishnah says no, you can't. Beishamai says in our Mishnah you can make a shvua. It's only matter your neder, I'm not a shvua. And the second point is going to be that what's that point?
Against the Mishnah.
It's against the Mishnah.
Right.
Another point is that it's mashma Beishamai only says don't initiate a shvua, but you could initiate a neder. And the Mishnah says Beishamai you can't even initiate a neder. That's what's kashas. And have two kashas that the brisa is against our Mishnah. The Beishamai b'shvua the lo yiftach lo b'neder yiftach lo, but not Beishamai yom lo yiftach lo b'neder. Kasha number one that here it only says Beishamai says you shouldn't initiate a shvua. It's mashma you could initiate a neder. And our Mishnah says Beishamai says you cannot initiate a neder. Kasha number two, the su. Second of all, more. Miftach who the lo yiftach lo b'shvua. Hamei then ada b'shvua. Beishami here in the Brisa that says you can't initiate a shvua, but you could make a shvua. If the guy would have initiated, if the mochas would have initiated it, you could swear. But v'tanan beishami yomim b'chol nedin chos mi b'shvua. No shvua, even if the guy initiated it. So that's two conscious against the Brisa. So the war answers, Tana masnisen ben neder lo diach kochad be'shamai. Tana Brisa b'shvua lo diach kochad be'salo. Everybody's right. They're not arguing. It just wants to tell you the extreme cases. The Mishnah wants to tell you the extreme base Shammai that you can't even initiate an neder. And the Mishnah, the Brisa wants to tell you Beis Hillel is extreme the other way. Beis Hillel says you could even initiate a shvua. Means in the Mishnah we had 2 points. We had 3 points, but the 2 points we're talking about is that Beis Hillel says you could even do a shvua, and you could even initiate a neder. But it doesn't talk about could you initiate a shvua. The Brisa wants to tell you that Beis Hillel says you can even initiate a shvua. So the mocha says, give me this food, give me this grain, and he says, I swear that it's true. Means the guy didn't initiate the option of doing a shvua. The Jew initiated, and he made even a shvua. That's the Brisa to tell you the extreme Beis Hillel, and Mishnah was going the other way to tell you the extreme Beis Shammai that you can't even initiate a neder. But Enachnami, they're not arguing. Rav Ashi Amar, Achikitani, Bishama Yom Bein Shela B'Shvua, or Beisalomi Bein Shela B'Shvua. That the kasha is a mistake to Lagami. That the Mishnah is what we're talking about. That the word La Yiftach in the Mishnah means don't initiate. But here the Gemara is saying you got the Brisa wrong. The Arhuna who brought in this Brisa, if you look in the Brisa, it doesn't say it's talking about our Mishnah's case that it means initiating. Yeah, the word Yiftach is a different meaning altogether. The word Yiftach means if you can make a Pesach. The word yiftach, like a Pesach, not initiating. Pesach means how to make Taras Nedarim. So are you allowed to be mater shvua? Means we always talk about being mater neder. Is there such a thing as being mater shvua also? A person swore, he made a shvua about something, and then later on he says, if I would have known such and such, I wouldn't have made a shvua. He wants to come to the road to be mater shvua. Is there such a thing? So Beis Shammai says no such thing as being mater shvua, only mater nedarim. And Beis Hillel says you can even mater shvua. There's nothing to do with our Mishnah, and that's what the Gemara ends off. That's Rav Ashi. Achikitani. Shammai says ain't she'ela b'shvua. There's no way to ask to retract the shvua. Beis Hillel says there is. You can retract the shvua also. Okay, that's the end of today's sugya, and Be'ez Hashem, we'll be starting Navi in a couple of minutes.